Climate change is a civil rights issue. Justice is overdue. It's time for communities to invest in renewable energy.
I have asthma.
I live near a busy freeway.
I live near a construction site.
I am the director and founder of COCO, Coalition of Community Organizations, which deals with various communities in and around the city of Houston. It is a human rights violation to allow multiple corporations and industries to pollute our communities with aggressive policies and regulations to help protect the health and safety of a group because they are disenfranchised or don't have a high income status. Over 21,500 emission points in the Houston area, many of which are located within just a matter of feet of individuals' homes. And most of these homes are Latino and African American families, which make up a majority of the population in the East End and on the eastern side of the city of Houston. And to no surprise to most of us living in those areas affected are generally undocumented immigrants and mostly traditional marginalized low-income individuals and communities of color.
My parents grew up on the Permian Basin, where we have some of the largest frac fields and very old oil wells as well. And, thinking about the impacts of these chemicals and toxins that persist in the area, I realized, I've never been out of this stuff. Even in the womb of my mother, chemistry and biology that she grew up with, having spent her whole life there. And to realize that, my own exposures from where I grew up and where I went to school were also things that had impacted my own health. And many of the young students and children who grew up in these same communities. I have just a little shirt here to sort of highlight one of the largest issues that I think has not gotten a lot of attention, and this is the issue of young students who have no political voice, no political power, who are forced to go to schools and grow up in communities where, they are contaminated.
In Houston, we have a serious challenge, which is that many wealthy and politically powerful people reap all of the benefits of the oil and gas industry without seeing the negative effects where they live, and we have to change that. My organization helped pass such an ordinance in 2013 in Dallas that created a 1,500-foot setback for fracking. And we also lended support to activists in Denton who passed a ban on fracking in their city limits a year ago. We did it because companies were drilling dangerous distances from homes, neighborhoods, and schools. And our supporters who were experiencing that pollution and threat wanted it to stop. We're seeing a pattern of powerful lobbying organizations push laws and projects that threaten lives and violate human rights, and they must be held responsible. Here in Houston, a trash incineration technology known as gasification was proposed under One Bin for All, which is a project still technically being evaluated by the City of Houston with a grant funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies and promoted by C40 Cities and the Clinton Climate Initiative. The original proposal stated that the most likely location for this facility would be at a pre-existing landfill or disposal site, all of which are located in predominantly African American or Hispanic communities in Houston. And a coalition of environmental and environmental justice groups, many of the leaders of whom are in this room, including the NAACP Houston branch, has made a strong case against the project, and it does not look like it will go forward in Houston, thankfully. But there are still hundreds of incinerators around the world, and Houston's is not the only incinerator proposed in communities of color to be promoted by, quote, well-meaning NGOs such as the Clinton Climate Initiative. They also promoted incinerators in Delhi, India, and in Mexico City in the past decade.
Voice is amplified in numbers, power in numbers.
diagnosing of how we're really being affected by these issues. It's about education. Start off with this. And then think about how can we actually harness this education to bring community together, to form a common ground, a common understanding that we're all after the same thing. And that to understand, well, if I look across my community, how many thousands of people are here experiencing very similar issues? How many thousands of people are in my community and they're not happy about social and environmental circumstances that they're faced with? Think about how we can reframe these dominant narratives that say we are the ones that are responsible for our own health. And we are to a certain extent, but we should have the same opportunities as others, shouldn't we? Let's push this and let's mobilize as communities, standing together, hand in hand, walking together to demand social and environmental equity for all. To demand high-speed rail, to demand more sustainable industries, to bring green industries in, right? The things that we're all talking about. How did the civil rights movement come? What did it produce? Was it one person standing and shouting?
To dramatize this blatant injustice and to demand that the federal government not put a cent in this city unless it decides to face the realities of desegregation.
So that's why that community organizing and community development piece is going to be key to changing.
Is a vehicle for encouraging people to be in touch with their decision makers and in fact to be their own decision makers. That it's not just that people are making demands and those demands are miles and miles away from offices that lead to decisions and movements of money, but in fact that there's such a disconnect, and then before that disconnect there's not even a realization that there's something to be connected to, that if you live in environmental injustice every day but you can't identify it and you don't know who to talk to about it, then there's never going to be change around that environmental injustice.
Well,